President Joe Biden will deliver his second State of the Union address tomorrow night. It is, of course, to a joint session of Congress, but you, the voters, are the real audience. He's expected to lay out his priorities for the rest of his term and maybe give us a sense on whether or not he plans to run next year. Among the topics that he's likely to hit on is gun violence. Since his speech last February, the country reeled from mass shootings at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, a parade near Chicago, and of course a grocery store here in Buffalo. A local woman who was greatly impacted by that shooting will be in the House chamber to witness this speech in person. And she joins us now live. ZENETA Everhart will be Senator Chuck Schumer's invited guest tomorrow night. Her son Zaire was among those shot at the Tops Market back on May 14th. Thankfully, he survived. 10 others did not. ZENETA, I know you're already in Washington, D.C. Really appreciate you taking some time for us.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. Truly, thank you.
Absolutely. What do you want, or what do you maybe need to hear from President Biden tomorrow on this issue of gun violence? What could he say that you think might actually make a difference?
You know, at first, I just want to thank Senator Schumer for always keeping Buffalo top of mind, right? That's very important that we continue to lift up what happened on 5/14. And for me personally, I want to hear more about gun control. I want to hear what this country plans to do moving forward. I know that, we had a win back in June, but it wasn't enough, right? So I definitely want to hear how he's going to handle this country as far as gun reform moving forward. Absolutely.
In one recent news article, Senator Schumer, who you mentioned there, said that you represent the resilience of all of Western New York. I know this isn't your first trip to Washington, D.C. since what happened last year. What is it like to be the guest of not only a senator, but also the minority, or the majority leader, rather, of the U.S. Senate? And what did you think when, I imagine, the senator's office called you up and said they'd like to invite you to go?
You know what? It's an absolute honor. To be, in a place like that's a huge responsibility for me. I think of it's an honor. It's exciting, right, to go to Washington, D.C. to hear from the president. But it's an honor because I get to bring the east side of Buffalo with me, right? I get to bring what happened there with me. And for me, that's most important. Yes, it's an exciting experience, but, our community has been traumatized. My son has been traumatized. We lost 10 lives on 5/14. And so to be the person representing Buffalo in that space, it's an absolute honor. And I take that honor seriously. Absolutely.
Well, everyone watching knows that you'll represent us so well. You're going to be in the chamber there, again, up watching this in person. I imagine you're going to run into a lot of people maybe on your way there. You're already in D.C. now. You're going to be there tomorrow and then tomorrow night. Do you have any other plans? Do you think you might run into some lawmakers, and do you take that as an opportunity to maybe advocate for what it is you'd like to see change?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm here, right? And so, my plan tomorrow during the day is to try and talk to some of our lawmakers and to absolutely advocate for change. A lot of them realize what we're up against and the issues that communities like Buffalo are facing, and communities across the country, quite frankly. Mass shootings are going up, and they're going up, and they're going up. And it's our lawmakers' job to handle these issues for us. They've been, elected to protect us. So absolutely, it's my plan to hopefully run into some of the movers and shakers, right? That can get some change done in Washington for us. So my hope is to run into a lot of them and have some conversations while I'm here.
In the meantime, ZENETA, what is happening here in Western New York? I know there is this committee that's talking about the permanent memorial that's going to happen. There has been the process of figuring out what to do with the money that was raised. Obviously, there are continued calls, both at the local level, the state level, and then federally to make changes to laws. What is the broad update that you'd share with us?
From my perspective, obviously the Memorial Commission has been selected, and they're, amazing people from the Buffalo community who's on that committee. And I trust their vision for this. They've already reached out to all of the families, letting us know that, they will seek our input as to what that memorial will look like. And so we trust their opinion. And, our lawmakers since 514 have gone back to work, right? Including Senator Kennedy and Kathy Hochul, our governor, right? So they went right to work right after 514, strengthening gun laws in New York State. And we have some of the toughest gun laws across the country. And so they're continuing to do that work. I know that obviously because I work for Senator Kennedy, but they're at the table and they're not going to come up from that table until we have some real change in our state, and which hopefully will, get the rest of the country on board with, strengthening their gun laws and doing more for our community. And yes, the Better Together Fund, that is the thing that is absolutely, I am actually on that committee and they're doing some great work. A lot of it obviously behind the scenes, but we want to make sure that we are doing things in this community that's going to be long lasting and not just a one-off, because the issues that are faced on the east side of Buffalo didn't just start with 514 and it didn't just start with the COVID pandemic. These are issues that have been around for decades and decades and decades. And so now we're looking at ways that we can fix the issues on the east side of Buffalo for future generations and not just have a one-off situation.
ZENETA Everhart joining us live from Washington, D.C., where she will be in attendance for tomorrow night's State of the Union address. Thanks so much for taking some time for us. Safe travels.
Thank you, Michael, for having me.